Pregnancy 101 Part 2. All right, last time we had the sperm make it into a fallopian tube. Now, for there to be a pregnancy, sperm has to meet up with an ovum. How would an ovum get there? All right, well, you can see the ovaries here. I like that I picked a picture that has kind of the bumpy look to the ovaries because that's what happens around the time of ovulation. You've had swelling, you've had follicles in the ovaries get bigger, and when you have a surge of a hormone called luteinizing hormone, essentially the biggest follicle kind of wins the race and it will be released. It's not always one. That's how we can get what are called dizygotic twins or non-identical fraternal twins, as we call them in everyday language. That's not what I'm going to focus on, though. All right, so that ovum gets released, and you want it to get into the fallopian tubes. Now, if you can see from the picture there, the picture kind of makes it seem like the fallopian tubes are directly connected to the ovary. They are not. There's actually a space in between the two, and there are little hair-like formations, little cilia at the ends of the fallopian tube that kind of help the egg make it into the fallopian tube. Sometimes it misses and the pregnancy doesn't occur, even though there's a perfectly good egg and possibly well-timed introduction of the sperm, and it just doesn't happen. Another thing that can happen is sometimes fertilization will take place, and sometimes that fertilized egg will make it out of the fallopian tube. And that's not a good situation. It could try to implant on the outside of the uterus or on an ovary. And those are not places that can stretch like the uterus can stretch. And we don't want that. Those are instances of an ectopic pregnancy, which we are going to also talk about in a bit. It's not a good thing to happen. Now, so fertilization typically is going to happen in that fallopian tube. What is fertilization? One sperm meets one ovum. They both have 23 chromosomes, typically. Then they come together. They form a new individual called a zygote, a single-celled individual. And then travel is required. It has to go through that fallopian tube, and what you want to have happen is you want to have it, the green screen's not showing up right, you want to have it make it to the uterus. The uterus is where you want a very important step called implantation to occur. Implantation is when there's actually a physical connection between the person who is pregnant and that new developing individual. Part 3 will be next.